Hello everyone and welcome back to This Day in History, our nightly look back at a specific day in history, where we take a look back at the events of a day, the historic context in which those events took place, and the historic ramifications of those events. As always, if you have not yet, please hit the subscribe button, the bell notification icon to be alerted anytime I post new content, and tell a friend. And without any further ado, this day in history, May the 14th. And on this day in 1973, Skylab, the first U.S. space station, was successfully launched into orbit around the Earth. 11 days later, the first manned mission to the station was made. U.S. astronauts Charles Concord, Joseph Kerwin, and Paul Weitz made a rendezvous with Skylab, repairing a jammed solar panel and conducting scientific experiments during their 28-day stay aboard. The mission came 2 years after the Soviet Union launched Skylab, the world's first space station, into orbit around the Earth. However, unlike the ill-fated Soviet station, which was plagued with problems, the American space station was a great success. The crews of Skylab spent more than 700 hours observing the sun and brought home more than 175,000 solar pictures. 5 years after the last Skylab mission, the space station's orbit began to deteriorate faster than expected, owing to unexpectedly high sunspot activity. On July 11, 1979, the parts of the space station that did not burn up in the atmosphere came crashing down on Australia and into the Indian Ocean. No one was injured. And today, you can see a part of the Skylab that made re-entry and didn't burn up on display at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville, Alabama. If you've never been to the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, make it a point to go. It's a very well-done museum and well-done telling of the importance of the U.S. space race. I've had some people who have visited both the Kennedy Space Center and the U.S. Space and Rocket Center tell me that both the Rocket Center is actually much more well done as a museum, telling the story of NASA and the U.S. space mission. It is also the home of Space Camp, which is a very popular endeavor for children that are interested in science. So if you know someone that would be interested in that, definitely do that. And it is the most popular tourist attraction in the state of Alabama. When we get the coronavirus successfully under control and are able to enjoy great places that we all enjoy again safely and in a as I said, a safe manner. Definitely, if you've not been to the Space and Rocket Center, go check it out. And there's a replica of Skylab on display at the National Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. Now, the U.S. Air and Space Museum, which is a branch of the Smithsonian, is undergoing a multi-year renovation at the moment, and it is being done in phases. You can visit parts of it and may not be able to visit other parts. I do not know what phase that is currently in, and if Skylab is one of the exhibits when they reopen that will be on display for you to still visit, or if it will be part of the center, the museum that is undergoing renovations. The U.S. Air and Space Museum, though, is a branch of the Smithsonian that has two locations in Washington, D.C. They have the main branch, which is there on the mall. That is where the Spirit of St. Louis is. That is where the Wright Flyer is, and other big pieces of the U.S. history of U.S. flight and the U.S. space mission. Also, you can see the Mercury 7 capsule there and a replica of the lunar lander. And I believe recently Neil Armstrong's spacesuit from the mission to Mars, the mission to the moon is there as well. I believe that was unveiled last summer during the 50th anniversary of the moon landing. But there's a second branch of the Air and Space Museum out at Dulles Airport, which is one of the two major airports serving the Washington, D.C. area. There's Reagan National, which is right across the Potomac, and then there is Dulles. And most of your international flights that fly into D.C. are flown into Dulles, and it is a hub for United. So, if you're in D.C., ever go out to the center they have out there at Dulles. I do not want to butcher the name of the gentleman that donated the funds for its completion, but it is named after him. So it is very nice facility they have. They actually have one of the actual space shuttles on display there, and they also have a Concord plane that was part of the Concord fleet. Of course, Concord was the supersonic airliner that was a joint venture between France and the United Kingdom and was carried by their flag carriers, British Air and Air France. So go out there and view that. The U.S. tried to do a similar supersonic passenger airliner, and it was not as successful. So definitely go to that. If you're ever in the Washington, D.C. area, definitely go to the Air and Space Museum. Probably, in my opinion, when it's fully open and fully accessible, the second best of the institutions of the Smithsonian. Far and away, American history is the best, especially after the renovations they did in the late 2000s, the early 2000s, the first decade of this new century. So, that is all for tonight. I hope y'all have a great day and a wonderful tomorrow, and I'll see you all then.